This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. Oil prices edged higher on Tuesday as investors bet that tight supply and rising vaccination rates will help to offset any impact on demand from surging COVID-19 cases worldwide. Brent crude futures rose 31 cents, or 0.4%, to $74.81 a barrel by 13:36 GMT. U.S. West Texas Intermediate (WTI) crude futures rose 27 cents, or 0.4%, to $72.18. Benchmark prices held their ground even after the United States issued travel warnings to Spain and Portugal because of rising COVID-19 cases. A White House official told Reuters that wider travel curbs would not be lifted, citing the highly infectious Delta variant and rising domestic infections.
Analysts have raised their European carbon market average price forecasts after the European Commission unveiled a package of policies to implement its climate targets, including reforms to limit the number of carbon permits available. EU allowances, EUAs, are expected to average €52.01 a ton in 2021 and €62.26 in 2022, a Reuters survey of 8 analysts showed. That is up 12.4% and 11.8% respectively from forecasts made in April. The European Union's Emissions Trading System, ETS, which forces manufacturers, power companies and airlines to pay for each ton of carbon dioxide they emit, is central to EU efforts to cut net greenhouse gas emissions by 55% from 1990 levels by 2030.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
A highly anticipated review by the U.S. Interior Department of the Federal Oil and Gas Leasing Program is undergoing final internal review and should be released, very soon, Interior Secretary Deb Haaland told a Senate hearing on Tuesday. President Joe Biden announced the review shortly after taking office in what was widely viewed as a first step to fulfilling his campaign promise of banning new federal drilling leases and rapidly slashing greenhouse gas emissions over the next decade to fight climate change. Haaland had said previously that the review would be completed by early summer.
India's move to commercialize its strategic crude oil reserves is another sign that major Asian importers are taking steps to mitigate the high prices caused by the OPEC Plus group's output cuts. India, the second biggest crude importer in Asia behind China, aims to commercialize half of its Strategic Petroleum Reserve, SPR, Reuters reported on July 22, citing 2 government sources with knowledge of the plan. While the commercialization of the SPR, currently home to about 36.5 million barrels of crude or about 5 million tons, is aimed at raising funds to build more storage tanks, it also allows refiners to access cheaper oil from storage when prices are high and buy it back when prices fall again.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
Copper prices snapped a 5-session winning streak on Tuesday under pressure from a rebounding dollar as investor focus shifted to a U.S. Federal Reserve meeting expected to give more direction on monetary policy. Benchmark copper on the London Metal Exchange lost 0.8% to $9,727.50 per ton in official trading, after touching its highest since June 15 at $9,924. Given the scale of moves we have seen since the close of business, the 19th of July, some sort of pause was to be expected, especially given the Fed's 2-day meet, said Alistair Munro at broker Morex.
Gold ticked up on Tuesday, as the dollar softened and U.S. real yields plunged to a record low, though gains were kept in check on investor caution ahead of a Federal Reserve policy meeting that could provide details on the tapering of asset purchase. Spot gold rose 0.2% to $1,800.16 per ounce by 10:05 a.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Time. U.S. gold futures were up 0.1% at $1,799.90. The dollar index slipped 0.1%, lowering gold's cost for holders of other currencies. Providing a further boost to the metal, the yield on 10-year Treasury inflation-protected securities, TIPS, hit a record low of -1.147%. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. Egypt's state grains buyer, the General Authority for Supply Commodities, GASC, on Tuesday received a lowest offer of $244.50 a ton for 60,000 tons of Ukrainian wheat on a free onboard FOB basis, traders said. GASC is seeking an unspecified quantity of wheat for shipment September 20th-30 and will pay using 180-day letters of credit. GASC had allowed traders to also offer freight for their cargoes, but none of the suppliers participating in Tuesday's tender elected to do so.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.